Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Lori Amin, will interview published authors to chat about their work, journey to getting published, and their book recommendations. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Hi, Sonya. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a romance and women's fiction author. I'm from Canada. I grew up in Saskatoon and kind of have lived all over the place. But most recently, I moved to the Vancouver area. Mm-hmm. And I just got a puppy actually 1 month ago. So if you hear any stray barking in the background, it's because she is at the door looking for me. Her name is Joey and she's a golden doodle. Yeah.
So you're puppy training right now? So how's
that it means I haven't been writing as much as I want to, but that's okay. It's totally worth it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm thinking of getting a pet sometime soon. I'm debating. I work from home, so I can actually get a dog. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's a lot of responsibility.
It totally is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm it's a lot of responsibilities, especially puppy training. It's so stressful. Trying to train them,
Totally.
So, oh my gosh. So let's chat about your latest release, A Holly Jolly Diwali. Tell us a little elevator pitch.
Sure. So A Holly Jolly Diwali is a multicultural holiday romance that takes place over both Diwali and Christmas. And it's essentially about a woman from America. Her name is Nikki, and she's always been sort of the good girl doing things right. But she's laid off. So at the last minute, she decides to go to her friend's wedding in India. Mm-hmm. And at the wedding, the Diwali celebration right before the wedding, she meets Sam Mukherjee, who is this London-based rocker guy, totally different than what she expects. And they sort of have this love at first sight / fling situation where they're sort of in India falling in love. But of course, the trouble is they live on different continents. So yeah, that's the pitch.
I love this. And so, we didn't travel. I assume we haven't traveled in a while. So what was your experience of getting India, getting the pages of India in the setting? Because it's definitely I felt the culture. I felt like I was traveling there with Nikki. Oh. I was like, I'm going somewhere, So what was that process like? Just get that setting right.
So I was born in Canada, but I've been to India, I think 4 or 5 times over the years. And so I kind of was able to draw on my memories of it. And I actually went to my friend's wedding in Mumbai in 4 years ago. So I think that I was able, having gone to a big Indian wedding in India, I definitely sort of got some of it from there. So yeah, the one place that I hadn't been, which I described in the book, is Goa, which I've always wanted to go to. And had there not been a pandemic, I probably would have found an excuse to go while writing this book. But yeah, I think, just researching and being thoughtful. That's actually one of the things that I explore in the book, is that the main character, Nikki, she is South Asian heritage. She looks Indian, but when she goes to India, she realizes that, she isn't really Indian, and she kind of has to think about her identity a little bit, which is something that I've always thought about too. So yeah, that was also a process for me of writing about India without really thinking of myself as Indian, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I think it's the identity of your identity, what is expected. I think it's I feel like it's the immigrant part of it, the immigrant experience. So I grew up in Puerto Rico, but I live in the States, and my identity is different than from people who are first generation, third generation, how many generations, and then still seeing is your identity similar to the expectations, or and even that seeing your experience is so different at the same time.
Totally. And everyone will have a different experience with their own upbringing and different relationship to their identity. So yeah, it's something that's different for everybody.
I love this. Let's talk about Diwali. So talk to us about the holiday, this is a fun holiday,
Sure. Yeah. So that was another thing with writing the book, was actually researching and thinking about the customs and what to include. And because, there's 4 different religions, at least, where some people celebrate Diwali. A lot of the time we celebrate for different reasons. And even depending on the region, depending on the culture, why we celebrate Diwali, or our customs, or how we celebrate it, they're all different. It's so expansive. And so I tried to flag that in the book, saying, okay, this is just like one woman's experience with it. The main character is of the Sikh faith. And so she kind of talks about, like, with her own mom, about how they don't really understand why, their people celebrate Diwali, but it's a totally different reason than other people. So I am Sikh, but I'm on my dad's side, but I was also raised Hindu on my mom's side. And so, when she goes to India, she's staying with a Hindu family, and and Sam, her lover, is also a Hindu. So she kind of gets to explore these different avenues to celebrating Diwali. But essentially, Diwali, like, is often called, the festival of lights. And overarchingly, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but in my experience, it's that Diwali is really about the celebration of light or good over darkness or evil. And it's like a really, really, like, there's a lot to Diwali, but at the end of the day, it really boils down to something very, very simple. And that's really common across holidays of all faiths, I think.
Love this. Yeah, I love the fact that we explored Diwali, and like she was thoughtful about the process of asking questions like, what do you celebrate for? Even the process of asking her mom, like, this culture, like, this is something we celebrate, but do we understand why?
Yeah. And I think it's Diwali is also, like, Christmas is again, it's a holiday in the Western world celebrated for so many different reasons. Sometimes it's more religious, sometimes it's more secular. I mean, I'm not Christian, but I've had a Christmas tree in my house, every year. We give presents. We had Santa Claus come, like it was a big part of our life without, really, without the meaning was different for us. And I think Diwali is the same. And I tried to flag that.
I love this. All right, so we're going to try book recommendations. So we're chatting holiday books. So tell us a couple holiday books that we should pick up, and tell us a little bit about them and what do you love about it, and why should our listeners pick it up.
Sure. So I have 3 holiday books to recommend. The first one is Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. I love everything that she writes. It's really fun and steamy and sweet. And what I really loved about this book is that it's about an older character, and it's really about, like, at any age we can fall in love and have sex and all that. So it's about a woman named Vivian who goes on her daughter's work trip to England with her. So she's a little bit older than a lot of protagonists that are written about in this genre. And while she's there, she ends up falling in love with the private secretary. And it's sort of this, like, holiday fling, like, we live so far apart. But they fall in love, of course, and have to figure it out. So that's my first recommendation. The second one is One Day in December by Josie Silver. I'm obsessed with this book. I've recommended it to so many people. Because it is a romance, but it's also like this really, really, the friendship angle, and like her relationship with her friend Sarah is such a well-developed relationship, and it almost is just as exciting to read about as the actual love story. So it's about, and I also love books that are set in London because I lived there for a couple of years and met my husband there, actually, although we didn't have such a meet cute. And so basically it's about this woman named Laurie, who is on a bus one day in December, and through the window she sees this guy, and their eyes meet, and it's like this love at first sight, like magical, connection. But of course the bus goes away and she doesn't see him again. But the next time she sees him, she meets him at a party, and that guy is the boyfriend of her best friend in the world. So it's sort of navigating this love triangle, and love triangles are my favorite trope, I would have to say, because I think they bring out so much. So yeah, that's my second recommendation. And the third recommendation, full disclosure, I haven't read it yet because my book, I pre-ordered it and it will be arrived next week for pub. But I've heard so many good things about it that I have full confidence in recommending it. And it's The Matzo Ball by Jean Meltzer. And so this is a book that comes out next week, and it is a holiday romance, but really centering around, very similar to my book in that it's about Hanukkah and Christmas. And so the story is about this woman named Rachel, who is a nice Jewish girl, but she is secretly in love with Christmas and is a Christmas romance novelist. And so basically what happens is that her publisher asks her to write a book about Hanukkah, but she isn't really feeling inspired the way that she's inspired by Christmas. So she goes to this Jewish celebratory night on the last night of Hanukkah called the Matzah Ball, and she ends up meeting her arch nemesis, Jacob. And so it's an enemies to lovers romance. She's looking for a muse to get inspired about Hanukkah, and ends up having to like meet this guy. And it's going to be, I love enemies to lovers as well. So I'm really, really excited about the Matzah Ball.
Oh my gosh, I have friends who read the Matzah Ball and they just rave about it. They said the Jewish representation is great, but also the whole Christmas, Christmas romance novelist, who's trying to explore her Judaism is like, it's just like classic. So I am so excited. I actually have it too that I just I'm waiting to get my pre-order so I can read it.
Yeah, I can't come fast enough.
Yes, it just needs to be here. So I'm excited. So what kind of books do you read?
So I read all over the place. I think that, largely it's fiction, honestly. I mean, I do try to read nonfiction, but usually I read fiction. I read romance, of course, romance, women's fiction, book club fiction, and also thrillers. I love thrillers.
Yes. Yes, I think thrillers are good, kind of like a palate cleanser when you read like too much. So I was like, let's just have a whodunit, a page turner. That's
Yeah.
Keep you engaged,
Yeah.
So awesome. So Sonya, tell us where you can find you online.
So I am on Instagram and Twitter. My handle for both is Sonya_Lalli. So that's SONYA_LALLI. And my website is sonyalalli.com.
I love this. Thank you, Sonya, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. Today's episode's partner is Libra FM. If you're an audiobook listener, then you should add Libra FM as your go-to source for paid audiobooks. Libra FM makes it possible for you to buy audiobooks through your local bookstore. Memberships start at $14.95, and they also have great sales for romance audiobooks each month for $3.99, thanks to the Kiss Club. To sign up for Libra FM, please visit whattoreadnextblog.com/LibraFM. You will receive a free audiobook when you sign up for a monthly subscription. If you purchase a subscription through our link, you will be supporting the podcast at no cost to you. The What to Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Please visit frolic.media/podcast to discover new shows to tune in. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.